FM22 was okay. FM23 was and then it got worse the more you played it. But FM24, I have to be honest with you right now, is the biggest improvement to Football Manager in a long time, and it is very good.
You're getting paid to say that, you sellout. SI is lying in your pocket.
Dude visited the Football Manager studios, and now he's saying the game is great. A year and a half later.
Oh, this dude's got a code for you to buy the game from. There's no way he's being honest.
Terrible. Ah, good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Now, since Football Manager is not paying me to post reviews, here's a word from today's sponsor. And it's actually something near and dear to my heart. Data, privacy, and protection. In the modern online world, your data is in more danger than ever, which is why I use something called Incogni to keep myself safe. Now, what Incogni does is it combats something called a data broker. What data brokers do is collect your information through different sources throughout the internet, aggregate it in one location, and then sell it off. Now, data brokers make a lot of money doing this, and they can collect information like your contact info, your full name, even stuff like your social security number and your address. Stuff that you do not want to be floating around the internet. And Incogni can get in touch with those data brokers and get them to take your information down. There is a ton of money in moving data, but Incogni helps you fight it and shows you that information as it contacts different data brokers to have your information taken down so you can keep track of how much Incogni is doing for you. And so you know it's legit, Incogni is backed by NordVPN, the longtime sponsor of this channel that may protect your data online already. And they have a huge discount for you, 60% off with the link in the description if you want to use Incogni to help keep your data out of the hands of data brokers like I do. Because look, I love you guys, but I don't want you knocking on my front door at 3 in the morning asking me to save your save. At least wait until breakfast. And it was walking back from my breakfast this morning that I realized I didn't just want to play FM24, I was absolutely craving it. I've tried to distill the reasons why into a list. I love lists, and we've got 6 things on this list here today. But as we go through it, I want you to know that this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to buy FM24. FM25 is going to have the Unity engine applied to it, so the graphics are going to go from potato to like actually very good. Before I started making content around Football Manager, I bought one every 3 years and was perfectly happy with that. But now I'm a psycho that buys the game every year and plays it for thousands of hours, and I think this one is really the best one to be released since I started making content around it. And the first reason why, deflections. I'm a ball bender. Wait. Deflections are something in Football Manager that have never, ever been realistic. For example, in FM23, every single deflection would pop up into the air and then aimlessly float to the goalkeeper for some reason, even though that almost never happens in real life. You also had the 100% guarantee that if there was a defensive player within the general vicinity of your striker, that they would shoot it and that defensive player would block it. Now, that deflection might go directly to another player who seemingly anticipated that and was already winding up to drive it into the back of the net, but if that didn't happen, you were just going to get all of your shots blocked. That just doesn't happen anymore. The deflections seem a lot more realistic. They are, of course, not perfect. You will notice far too many deflections that seem to spin off at a bend-it-like-Beckham angle to either side, but oftentimes the deflections will feel realistic and have the appropriate velocity and angle depending on where the shot comes from. And not every shot taken with a defender directly in front of it will be blocked. While this can be annoying if you happen to be the defensive team's head coach, it is realistic because it is frequent that you will see a shot taken that somehow gets through or deflects heavily off a defender and finds its way into the back of the net, or at least on target. This was not necessarily a problem I anticipated them being able to fix anytime soon, but it plays into this theme that FM24 has somehow just made the animation engine and the match engine much more realistic. Number 2, ball movement. Football Manager has taken the huge step to adjust the way that the ball moves. Now, you might think this is deflections all over again, but it's not. We'll start with the fact that crosses just seem to move at the appropriate velocity. They spin the right way. They float up into the air instead of every cross being an absolute laser beam to the correct or incorrect spot. There's a lot of varieties of crosses and lofted balls, or more direct balls that give a more authentic feel to chance creation. And then there's also something that nobody ever saw coming. You can head the ball and volley the ball into the ground. Just watch this. This happened on stream today, which if you want to watch the Twitch streams, the link to the Twitch is in the description. We're normally playing Football Manager, let's be honest. Look at this. He just he kicks it into the ground in a very authentic way to control that sort of shot. He just kicks it into the ground and skips it by the keeper. It's so simple, but it's game-changing in the authentic feel of it all. And it provides a wider range of options and choices for the players that are in the game, so they're able to express their individuality more, and you're able to see the players that can differentiate themselves more. This just underlines the fact that the ball seems to move better in all finishing situations. There's just a wider range of potential goals that are scored in Football Manager 24 that it's because the ball moves more naturally. You can loft it up around over the keeper because that's just something that you can do now. Not a chip, just a nice bendy, you know, an R1 on PlayStation type of sauce. Number 3, the animation engine. Now there are 3 things that play into the actual match experience. There's the match engine, which is the ones and zeros determining why players do what they do and what is going to happen in the match itself. There's the animation engine, which controls the actual locomotion of the players in the match engine. If he's gonna beat the offside trap and score a goal, what animation is playing into the player doing that? And then there's the graphics engine, which is how all of that looks visually, refined detail. Does it look like it was made in 1995 or yesterday? And the animation engine, that middle part that determines the locomotion of the players, is just fantastic this year. Night and day improvement from FM23 out of absolutely nowhere. They have no business doing this. The only reason I can think that they have done this massive improvement is because going into the Unity engine, the graphics will not be the limiting factor next year. The match engine and the animation engine will be the limiting factor as to how good Football Manager looks in the match day experience. So they have massively upgraded the animation engine so that the players have this huge variety of options in terms of how they move. Now this does go hand in hand with ball movement because the dribbling is just awesome. The animation engine combining with the way that the ball moves, where it seems to actually be on the field of play and kind of getting stuck in the grass, produces stuff like this, where you can see Nagato receive the ball, size up his situation, and then you're gonna watch him slow down to bait the defender in, and then explode by him to produce the assist. That's a beautiful, authentic looking play. You have players going for shots that double clutch on the shot itself. They don't shoot it at the natural first opportunity, hesitate, and then shoot it. This sort of player movement provides all sorts of midfield turns for a player to receive it and turn authentically in a way that shrugs off the defender. It feels like in FM24, your defense is much more authentically beaten, and you can properly assess, like, oh, that defender fell for that move and didn't position himself properly because of that. You're able to play the game better because it looks better. I know it's a penalty, but just look at this goal. Look at the way he positions his body and where the actual ball goes. It feels so much more realistic. That slight bend to the hips, you see him pull the ball towards that corner, and then it goes to that corner. That little lean, right? It looks exactly like that shot would look in real life. Football Manager has been able to collect a lot more motion capture data and a lot more motion capture points, and they have done a very good job of loading that into the game. Now, the off-ball animations are somehow even better than everything else that we've talked about in this animation engine section. Because all this data has been loaded in, all of the players that are off the ball, when you just watch them, are doing very authentic match day things. You will see players on defense, when they allow a through ball, stick their arm in the air and say, "Offside, ref," which is obviously annoying, but also realistic. And there's even more complex things, like this player who is playing against me and may or may not be about to score, sticks his arm out, calls for the ball, receives it, and then, you know, happens to make a, okay, whatever. You know, sometimes you get unlucky. But just watch people off the ball. Look at number 22 down here. He's like stretching out his shoulder or something. He's jogging up the field and just stretching out his shoulder. Yeah, just getting loose. That's so cool. I mean, that's just a nerdy immersion thing. This doesn't really help you with the playing of the game at all. It's just cool. It's nice to have. Now, number 4 is all about your actual playing of the game. Number 4 is the match engine. I have made a living playing Football Manager and hopefully teaching you guys a little bit how to play Football Manager. I have never felt like I had more tactical control over what was happening in a game than in FM24. Not even close. The introduction of inverted wingbacks. Hi, this is Zealand from the future. You might have just heard me say inverted wingback. Now, every time I say that in this video, I mean inverted fullback. I'm just getting used to the fact that there are now 2 inverted things on the outside, and I can't speak English. So, now you know. Central liberos Hi, Zealand from the future again, because apparently the new roles have broken my brain. When I say central liberos, I mean right center back and left center back liberos in a back four are now possible. That's what I mean. And positional play has really changed how you're able to construct a tactic. Now let's bring up our tactic animator. Thank you, Tom. On this tactic animator, you can see a back four. Now with an inverted wing back, a center back, and a wing back on the left, which is what I play with in my current Twitch save. Well, the wingback is going to go flying up, and in your build-up, you're going to have a back three. Your left center back will become a left outside center back. Your right center back becomes the central center back, and then your right fullback becomes your right center back when you're in possession. When you're out of possession, you shift back into a back four. Now, what happens when you have a wingback and a winger on the same side? Well, because there's this understanding of positional concepts, those players won't blindly run into each other like they've done in past FMs. The winger will eventually cut inside with the ball, which is something you can now tell a winger to do, by the way, and until then, the wingback will hang further back. Inverted fullbacks can also slide over to cover a John Stones type player that steps forward from center back to play as a defensive midfielder when you're building up with the ball. Metsalas and inside forwards can play together because they don't run into each other and they create a sort of authentic overload. If a defensive midfielder happens to follow an opposing player out wide to the right or the left side, they will take the place of the fullback until the fullback is able to return to that natural position. And you can see that happen in the match engine. It feels very authentic. It's a combination of common sense and opportunity. It allows you to experiment with throwing players into different positions and seeing what kinds of combinations those particular players are able to come up with. It's also allowed me to play this absolutely gorgeous tactic on early access. Let me know in the comments if you want a tutorial about how to make this thing work, because we're winning the league right now. But in FM24, you can just influence the game more. And in a management game, that's kind of a big deal. Number 5, and you knew this was coming, set pieces. Set pieces. Oh, set pieces. I could cry. I really could. The change to set pieces has already saved me hours of my life. You set your set pieces up and you can forget about it. There's no more accidentally creating a horrifying situation where you have nobody back on corners because of who happens to be taking the corner. Or on a free kick, you have too many people in the wall or too many people up, or the people up happen to be your freaking center backs who are supposed to be helping defend that free kick in the first place. None of that happens. You can freely make subs during the game without having to go into the set pieces menu and adjust freaking everything for your own peace of mind. Maybe that was just me, but it's not even just the fact that the UI is saving me oodles of time, and I'm bringing that word back. Not enough people say oodles anymore, and I feel like there's a direct correlation with the downfall of society. Not the point. The point is the goals from set pieces are not as frequent, but they feel more authentic because of the natural ball movement and the player movement. Players can head the ball down into the goal. They also can kind of pass it across the box, or when corners are played short to the top of the box, there is a real sort of reaction. There aren't just wide open guys all over the place from the dreaded long corner, as I used to call it. The set pieces, and you're probably noticing a theme here, feel more realistic. And number 6, the final one, a big one. The game is faster. The game isn't just a little bit faster. The game flies. Football Manager 24 processes a lot faster, which the same with the whole set piece UI adjustment to save you a lot of time, saves you a lot of time that you didn't know needed saving. I used to play Football Manager and watch a show at the same time, but now I'm struggling to watch the show because I'm having to hit continue so often. This could just be because of the first 5 things, and I'm feeling really high on the game right now, but the actual update to the processing speed and the streamlining of the game has been a noticeable and big improvement. So TLDR, more realistic, you can influence the game more, and saves you more time, which just means you get to play the game more. I'm surprised as you that I'm sitting here making this sort of video during the early access, but it is a pleasant surprise for me. I am happy that for the first time in a couple of years, I can talk positively about the game that I love so much. Let me know your thoughts if you're playing the early access, good or bad, down in the comments section. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Every subscription helps us do stuff like take a trip to the Faroe Islands, which I just got back from. We're going to make a video about the Faroe Islands' first ever win in a European group stage with the club Kauai Klaksvik. We spent a week there covering the culture in the club itself, and when that video's out, hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you for subscribing to allow us to do stuff like that. I'll see you guys on stream, and if you want to check out our first deep dive into a match and a club and a culture and an area in this series that I'm calling Hidden Grounds, you can check out this video from the New York derby between NYCFC and New York Red Bulls. Really get a window into what MLS fandom is actually like, and also what the Bronx is like.